So we'll start today on our backs with nothing underneath the back unless you need something. If you need something, hi Claire, if you need something underneath your head or underneath your low back, you can of course put that there. Otherwise, just come right onto your back. Walk your sitting bones down, walk your shoulders down the mat, and take your feet to the edges of the mat and let the knees fall together. Now, if that doesn't feel restful or comfortable, walk your toes a little further down until you feel like that falling of the thighs together is actually letting them rest against each other. And then your arms can be by your sides. If this doesn't feel good with the knees like this, you can extend your legs if that's better for you. Feel the floor underneath you. Let your head rock side to side. Welcome everyone and welcome yourself to this practice. Coming back to the center. Closing the eyes, closing the mouth if that's available. Letting the breath come in and out through the nose, or if you are a bit congested, breath in and out through the mouth. And if you are a bit congested, that's the only time I would say you could, if you'd like to, put a blanket under your head to lift your head a little bit. It might make you more comfortable. Feel the breath, notice the breath, and allow the breath to come to you and fill you up. And then when it's time to let go, and don't hold it for longer than you need to, really. Just let there be a nice flow of the breath as we come to the practice this morning with the notion of asteya, which is non-stealing and not really grasping for more than what is ours. It doesn't mean we don't want to move forward and grow and build upon what we are already doing, but it's more about grasping for that which is more than we need, or feeling like we're not enough, so we need more for that reason. So as you move into your practice, I just invite you into the enoughness of whatever you're doing. You're here, you're breathing, you are intentional, you're mindful, and that is enough. Take a little bit of time to notice what is present in the mind and the body this morning. And let it be here, right? You don't need it to be more or different or better or anything. Can you sense into what is going on in your thoughts and what is going on in the shoulders and arms, mid-body, legs, feet? Are there different physical sensations that are present? And notice how things, even as you pay attention to what's here, things shift and change. Nothing is really stagnant. If you pay attention to something that even feels like it is, it will start to, very likely start to evolve in some way. And if there is something that feels important, or as you remind yourself of why you're here this morning, maybe an intention arises, a word, a phrase to guide you through. But if really you're just like, I don't know, I'm just waking up, don't ask me this question, then just affirm that you are, or you are here. You could just say to yourself, I am, or I am here. Give this just a few more breaths, and then bring one hand to your heart and one hand to your belly, and notice the breath that fills and empties you, and very gently guide the breath as you inhale to feel the heart rise, and then the rib cage open, and then the belly lifts. And then on the exhale, let the belly relax and the ribs hug you and the heart melt down. So finding the full range of the breath. And again, not grasping, just allowing. And there may be, so heart, ribs, belly, and then belly, ribs, heart. There might be a place that you don't really feel the fullness of the breath. That's okay, just notice that. And maybe just by bringing attention to it, things start to shift and change and move. So noticing that wave of energy that is the breath, just as it is. Good. Very nice. And then you can walk your feet in a little closer to you so the knees will separate. Float your feet off the mat and then take your hands to your knees. And you might lengthen the back a little more. So you might walk your hips down, shoulders down, maybe a few gentle wake-up kicks to begin, letting the knees get a little bit of motion and movement. Good. And then let the heels stop kicking you. One hand to each knee. On your inhale, push the knees away, and you'll feel the space just above the tailbone. It's likely you'll feel this. You'll feel that lift up. And on your exhale, lower the knees down. Good. Inhale, lift up. Let your heels lift up in line with your knees. And on your exhale, pull that kind of bottom of a chair shape in. And just start to move in a way that feels awakening. Notice what's going on in the low back. The belly sinks towards the spine and you feel that connection. And the back body spreads on the mat. So this just fluid, opening, awakening stuff right here. Good. And then let the knees drop in towards you. Bring your hands to your thighs or your shins and give a little squeeze. So it's as if you're in upside down child's pose. In fact, to make it more like upside down child's pose, keeping the face relaxed, pull the chin towards the throat and the forehead towards the knees. So not creating extra tension. The engagement really is at the belly. Everything else can be pretty relaxed. And then lower your upper body, arms by your sides, knees over your hips, that kind of fallen over chair shape. Inhale, arms reach up, legs lift up, and you extend everything. Good. Exhale, knees bend, arms come down. And move at your pace, not too fast, not too slow, just right for you. Good. Let the breath coordinate with the movement so that when you finish exhaling, that's when the arms are down, that's when the heels are in line with the knees. If it's too much for the back, you could do one leg at a time, bend one leg at a time, or lengthen one leg at a time. Let's say keep the legs bent. Good. So just your pace. Both legs are one leg at a time, breath coordinating with movement. Nothing is lacking here. We're whole and complete in this vibration, right? Do you feel it? That we're just here and there's movement and there's breath. And that's enough. Good. The next time you bring everything down, stay here. Hands come back to your knees. Separate the knees and row the knees around as if the arms were rowing a boat. Kind of open the knees. And when you push the knees away from you, you'll need to engage the belly to draw them back. So do that without any resistance. A little massage to the back body. And then reverse that. So knees away, open and in. Knees away, open and in. Nice. Knees away, open and in. Couple more. And then the knees stay in. Now, imagine you just had both legs were together as one, squeezing the inner thighs together and move them around together. So you're going to stir the knees around together and enjoy this little low back massage, creating a little bit of mobility here. There's usually quite a bit of mobility in the low back though, but maybe giving it a soothing mobility and then move in the other direction. Good. Sighing out as you need to. Roaring out as you need to. Breathing out as you need to, whatever you need. And then come back to the center. Hug everything in. Let your arms come out by your sides. Actually, let's lengthen the body again before we do that. Lengthen the body. Extend the arms, extend the legs. And as if you were just about to get out of bed and you were just doing like the best stretch, the most helpful, delicious stretch, just stretch the body. Good. And then with all of that space, take a big breath in and some audible exhale out. Let everything soften. Walk your heels over to the left, walk your shoulders to the left. So crescent shape. And we've done this recently. So should feel familiar, but when I did this morning in my practice, I felt kind of like a whole chiropractic adjustment. I heard a lot of sounds, and that may happen for you. It might not, keep the right side of the body really heavy. And you can always take your left thumb and index finger around your right wrist. You can always take your right heel and cross it over your left ankle to get a little more space without forcing, because whatever space there is, right, it's enough. So you're not going to move into a space of injury just to get more. That would be asteya, taking more than is what is available. Yeah. Good. Inhale and exhale. Give it some time and space. And then come back to the center. Everything stretches long. And on your exhale, come back to that reverse child's pose, either with the knees just hugged in, or you can bring the upper body off the mat too. And when you do, spread the space between your shoulder blades. Good. Good. And then lower down to stretch everything out. Really long. Maybe you get a little taller. That's always my mantra. Maybe I'll get a little taller. And then soften here and walk your heels over to the right. Walk your shoulders over to the right. Take your right thumb and index finger. Maybe you take it around the left wrist if you want a little more. And then maybe the left heel over the right ankle. But if you do that and it feels like too much, take it off. Space comes in between the ribs, in between the rib cage and the waist. And there's breath here, right? Breath is breathing you. Face is relaxed. Enjoy that space. And then coming back to the center and extending everything long. And one more time, hugging everything in. Lower the upper body, keep the knees in, and then take the knees so they're more or less over the hips. If your low back is bugging you at this point, you could put a blanket, a very thin, not too thick blanket under your low back. Arms out by your sides. Inhale here. And on your exhale, drop the knees towards the right, but don't let them lower all the way down. So feel this twist in the waist. When you feel that pull, pause. Inhale, come back to the center. Good. Pause for a moment here. And on an exhale, drop the knees over towards the left, but not all the way down. Good. We might feel one side a little bit more available than the other. Good. Come back to the center. Do that a few more times. Drop over towards the right. Inhale, bring it back to the center. Your head can kind of roll and move in a way that feels good. Maybe when you drop the knees to the left, you look to the right. Come back to the center. Drop over to the right. Anything. You can look up, you can look to the right, you can look to the left. Come back to the center. And over to the left. Good. Come back to the center. This time, drop the knees all the way over to the right and take your left arm up, roll onto your right side and put your left hand on your right hand. If you need a blanket under your head because your head is really reaching towards the mat, it doesn't get there, put a blanket under your head. And then take your left arm and open yourself into a twist. Good. And you can reach the arms up and overhead if that's interesting. You can leave them by your sides. You could take your right hand to your left thigh. So we'll be here just for about 4 more breaths. Make your adjustments. What would be a nice twist for you right at this moment? Twist is another one where a little goes a long way. You don't need to overreach on these twists. On your next inhale, come back to the center. Hands to the knees a couple of times. Apanasana. Push the knees away, pull them in. Push them away. Pull them in. Push them away. And pull them in. Good. Open up the arms. Let the knees drop all the way over to the left. Once they drop, then you take your right arm, reach it up, and come over to the left. supporting the head a little more if you need to, and then open the arm back up, leave everything else as it is, so that you find this twist that really is a little more focused on the upper body, right? That opening of the heart. Your head can look in any direction that you feel would be interesting. Your arms can do anything, and we'll give this about 4 more breaths. And just feeling into it as always. The experience is enough, whatever it is. Lets us know where we are and that we feel. And then come back to the center, roll onto your back. Apanasana, just 3 more times, hands to the knees. Push the knees away, pull them in. We just always want to come back and be neutral after those twists. We want to come back to the center. Push away and draw in and push away. Good. Feet come to the mat, arms by your sides. Peel up into a bridge. Walk your shoulders just a little underneath you. If you did put something under your head during the twist, go ahead and take that out. Now you could stay here. We're going to be here for just a few more breaths. If you want a little more edge, lift your right heel, see how that feels, and then draw your right leg up to the sky. And cross your right ankle over your left knee. Now notice, does that pull you way over to the right? Keep that right hip lifted. You could stay here, letting the weight of the knee open the hip. You could dip and lift the back body 3 times. So a little bit of strength, a little bit of opening. Once you've done that 3 times, take your right foot, place it on the mat. Lift your heart. Pause here. If you need a break, take a break. If you don't, don't. If you want to shift your weight, lift your left heel and then point your left toes to the sky. Cross your left ankle over your right thigh. Open your knee. You could stay here. A lot of strength building in the right leg, a lot of stability. You could dip and lower. Still more strength, right? To get that motion here, lowering and lifting. Lowering and lifting. Good. Lengthen the left leg. Place the foot on the mat. Lower onto your back. Ooh. Release your shoulders. Hug the knees in. And let's find happy baby. So a lot of times we wait till the end of the class for this, but let's see what it feels like here more towards the start of the class to drop the knees into the armpits. Maybe you can only reach your thighs at this point. Maybe the calves, ankles, outer edges. Sometimes it's fun to reach the inner edges. And give this a few breaths. Let your knees just start to point towards the shoulders or really to the outside of the shoulders. Ooh, feels good really any time of class for me. I hope it does for you too. Bring the knees in, rock and roll on your back 3 or 4 times. You can rock vigorously. You can rock pretty gently. See what you want to do. And then come up to a seat and bring your hands behind you. If it's not okay to put weight on your wrists, you're going to come to Dandasana, right? But if it is okay to come onto your wrist, you're going to come to reverse table. Fingertips point towards you. If it's more comfortable for your wrist, for your fingertips to point back, you can do that. Lift your hips, elbows soft. If it's available, and only if it's available, you could drop your head back. For me, I keep my head forward. It's a little much on my neck. If this does not feel good to you, you're in Dandasana, staff pose. Sitting bones on the mat, chin towards the throat. So choose one of those. We're going to be here for about 4 more breaths. Good. Let yourself wake up here. Maybe 1 more, a little bonus breath or 2 more. Good. Relax your face. Draw your sitting bones down. Oh, very nice. Cross your ankles. Come forward, uncross the ankles, come to a lifted kneeling position just so we can work out the wrists a little bit. Sometimes we do put a little too much work on them. Stretch your fingers out. Cross right hand over left, interlace your fingers and feel your fingers all the way to the webbing. Can you feel that? Draw this clasped hand thing in towards the heart and then away from you until you feel a stretch in the wrists that feels like a nice stretch just for today. Drop your shoulders, let the breath flow. Good, good. Release here. Unclasp the hands, feel that. Let the hands come in front of you, open and close the hands a few times. This strengthens the forearms too, good. Yes, cross your left hand over your right, turn the palms towards each other, interlace fingers. Feel that all the way to the webbing, shoulders down, and then draw in, good, and away. Or maybe not too much away, right? I can't get too much away. Shoulders down. Be okay with wherever the wrists are and with whatever sensations in them, right? For me, it's a lot. Depending on your wrists, it may be a lot, maybe a little, maybe like a feeling good stretch, maybe a little uncomfortable. And then take the hands out, shake them out, shake them out. Good. Bring your hands onto your mat. Tuck your toes under and find downward facing dog. So here we are in our first Adho Mukha Svanasana of this practice. Stretch your hands, pedal your feet a little bit. Oh, make some sounds. Let the head hang. Oh. Good. And then letting your feet be just a little wider than your hips. Bend both knees. Keep your tailbone sticking up. Gather your strength and shift the weight into the left arm. Take your right hand off the mat and bring it over somewhere on your left leg. Maybe the calf, what's this? The thigh behind the knee or the calf, someplace that you can hold. And then lengthen the left leg, pulling yourself into a little twist. You can lengthen the right leg too. And look underneath your left armpit. So just a little twist, but a lot going on with the head below the heart. Give this a breath or two. And then come back to the center. Walk your, let's come into plank. Lots of pressure on the head there. So come into your plank. Oof. You can come to forearms, you can come to knees, you can stay on hands and toes. Good. Once you feel yourself evened out there, come back to your down dog. We'll be off our wrists in just a moment. Pause here, bend your knees, shift the weight to the right hand and bring your left hand to your right thigh or calf or ankle. The lower you go, the more that twist is going to, or the deeper that twist may be, which isn't necessarily more appropriate for you in this moment, right? So don't take anything that's not available. Good. And your edge is available. It may not feel great, but it's available. And then bring the left hand down. Oh, come forward to your plank. Bring your knees down. Bring your heart down. Forehead can come to the mat. Reach your arms by your sides. And then float the upper and lower body off the mat. And then let's take the hands behind. If you can clasp the hands behind you, do that. They might appreciate that after all that work on the wrists, and lift up. Or you can keep the hands separate. Take 3 more breaths here. Good. Locust posture. Nice. Lower down. Bring yourself up to a tabletop position. We're going to be on the knees for a little bit. So if you do like to pad your knees when you're in a kneeling position, let your blanket come underneath your knees and then walk yourself to a lifted kneeling position. Shoulders come onto the back. Nice. Bring your right foot forward. And you can use your blocks, or you might want your hands just on the mat. I'm going to use my blocks today. So come into a pretty nice deep lunge. And if you find your left hip kind of opening up towards the left, see what happens if you just pick up your knee, place it down so that the hips can be a little more level. Just see how that feels for you. From here, lift yourself up. Hands on the right thigh. Taking this slow, bring the hands to the heart. Good. From here, turn to the right and imagine, and maybe you do, take your left elbow, just tap your right thigh. And then come back to the center. And do that again. So not the biggest twist you'll probably ever do, but a nice waking up, elbow to the thigh, come back to the center. Good. And then twist, elbow comes in, come back to the center. Good. This time you can do that again, or if it is available, you'll take your left tricep to the outside of the right thigh and really consider, is it available, or are you stealing a little bit of too much range of motion for the back or anything like that? And just see how that goes. And if you'd like to, if the elbow is on the outside, you'll open your arms. Otherwise, you'll stay with that little tap. Both will work. Good. Bring the hands in, come back to the center. Good. And here I do recommend having blocks. Go ahead and take your blocks underneath your hands. I'm going to do mine at the tallest height. You could do them at the middle or the tallest. Lengthen your right leg and draw your right hip back. So my right foot is flexed. Good. And my hands are on the block. My hands are pretty wide, one hand on each block at the sides of the mat. I'm going to keep my left hand on the block and lift my right arm up. There'll be a little softness in my right knee. So it's a kind of an awkward twist. Inhale and exhale. Nice. Shoulders away from the ears. Good. And then come back and bend into that lunge again. Here you can use the blocks or not. And float your left heel off the mat. Flex the foot. Don't grab it. Just float it off the mat. Now imagine you could bring your right heel and left knee together. And if it's available, you can lift yourself up a little more. Sometimes the left leg will cramp with this, and if it does, just shake it out. Cramp will not last forever. And then lower the foot down, bring the hands down, lift up, right foot meets the left, come back to downward facing dog. Take a few breaths here, pedal it out, move it out, see what's going on. Nice. Right leg lifts up, gives you some wake up kicks, make some sounds. Lower down. Bring your knees down. Come back to that lifted kneeling position. Bring your left foot forward and come into that lunge. Let it be a nice deep lunge, whatever you have, right? But not beyond what you have. And feel into it. Give it another breath or two. And then push your left foot into the mat, lift up. Hands come onto the left thigh. You might imagine the left heel and right knee drawing together, and then your hands to your heart. From here, nice and lifted, turn your rib cage to the left, just tap your right elbow to your thigh and come back. And then do that again. So stay tall, then tap, then get tall again, come back. Do that one more time. And lift. Good. So this next time you can do that again if that's what's right for you today. If you do need a little more to get to your edge, you'll take the outside of the right tricep to the outside of the left thigh. Yeah. Then if you want, you can extend your arms. If you want. Take a few breaths here. Big twist today. Bring the hands together, come back to the center. Get your blocks. I'm putting mine at their highest height. Lengthen the left leg. Pull the toes back. Even things out. So see how you can create a feeling of evenness for you in the body. Keep your right hand on the right block. Lift your left arm. Come into this kind of awkward twist. And just notice we're moving a little slowly today for now. Notice how that all feels. Come back to the center, bend your left knee, come into that deep lunge again, Anjaneyasana. Hands can be on your blocks or your mat. If you'd like, and if it happens, pull your right heel your right foot off the mat with your foot flexed. Yeah. Lift the heart. Good. If you want, you can lift your upper body. See how that goes. And then bring the hands down. Tuck the toes under. Lift up. You can come back to hands on the mat and come to downward facing dog. Pedal it out. Feel it. See what's happening here. Good. And then lift your left leg. Wake up kicks. You can stack that hip. Open it up. Bring it back to the center. Good. Draw forward to your plank. Melt down. Knees can come down or stay up. Lower to the mat. And then lift your heart, coming to cobra. Or if you want to lift your thighs and your knees, upward facing dog. And then come back to downward facing dog. I'm going to move my blanket. We won't be on our knees anymore. You can do that if you'd like. And then walk your feet towards your hands. Come to Uttanasana, forward fold. Softness in the knees, one hand to each elbow. Spreading the feet, let the weight come a little more towards the balls of the feet and just feel length come into the back body from the heels up the legs, all the way up the back to the shoulders. Hands to your thighs, lift up. Weight comes forward to the balls of the feet. Reach the arms out. Pull your shoulders onto the back. Bring the hands back, interlace the fingers. Good. And then pull yourself up by drawing the clasped hands down and open your heart. Good. Separate your hands. Pause for a moment. Take your blocks and keep them at the top of your mat at the highest height, maybe just a few inches from the very top of the mat. Come back to stand. Reach the arms up and overhead. See how you're feeling right now. Little side stretch over to the right. Come back to the center. Little side stretch over to the left. Come back to the center. Good. Sweep the arms back, opening the heart, fold forward. Head hangs. Lift up halfway. And fold. Plant your hands. Take your feet back to a plank position. Any plank with hands, forearms, toes, knees. Lower to or towards the mat. And then lift your heart. Cobra or upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Good. Lift your right leg up. Bend your knee and open up your hip. Square the hip. Place your right foot between the hands. Might take a few steps. Come up to warrior one. So root your left heel down. Come up to warrior one. And widen your feet. So let your right foot come a little more to the right. Left foot maybe a little more to the left. Step onto the right foot. Bring your left foot in and root it down. And bring your hands to your blocks. So there should be a good distance forward and back between your feet, and then right and left. Lengthen the spine so that the upper body is parallel to the floor. We don't want to flex the spine here. We want a nice long spine. Keep your left hand on your block where it is. Imagine softening the knees a little bit. Don't imagine that. Actually soften the knees and imagine pulling the heels towards each other, and then lift your right arm up. So this is kind of like that awkward twist we did from the knee. Good. See if you can really push that left heel down into the mat. Give it a breath or two. Good. Bring the hand down. You can move the blocks or bring your hands to the mat. Come into a low lunge. You can keep the blocks there or move them out. We're going to come back to them, of course, on the other side, but now you're in a low lunge. Pause here. Front foot meets the back in plank. Pause here. Good. Knees come down. Heart comes down. Lift yourself up. Good. So little cobra. And lower down. Tuck the toes under. Come to your downward facing dog. Heels melt down. Head hangs. Feel yourself in this position. Lift your left leg, let go of whatever happened on the other side. It was enough. Don't take your attention from this moment or steal attention from this moment by staying in the past. We're going to come to this moment. Open up the hip, square the hip, place the left foot between the hands, root the right heel down, find warrior one. And this is where we make our adjustments to make sure the legs have that we have a nice wide stance. Good. Lift the arms up. Sink down, hug the ribs around you, shoulders are down. Good. Step onto your left leg, bring your right leg in, root the right heel down. Come forward, bring your right hand to your block. Actually, bring both hands to your blocks for a moment. Draw your left hip back a little bit. Now lift your left arm and come into a kind of awkward twist. So this is a wide revolved triangle. It is probably a little more mellow than a full revolved triangle, also a little safer, right? So that's not so bad. Open the heart. Pull the left hip back. Soften the knees. Good. Come back to the center. Good. Now you could move the blocks off to the side if you want. Hands to your mat. Bend your left knee. Extend your right leg long. Come into this low lunge. Front foot meets the back in place. Pause here. Two are towards the mat. This will be the last time we do this. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale and down dog. Exhale, knees come down to Balasana, child's pose, and we pause for a moment. Lengthen the spine, forehead to the mat, or to a block, or to your hands. Pause here. See what you feel here. Good. Lengthen the body on the mat. Hands by your sides, forehead down. Reach the upper and lower body up. And if you'd like to, bend your knees and see if you can find your ankles. If they're not available, stay in this Shalabhasana. If they are available, hold them and lift up. Let your elbows soften. Give it, wherever you are, a few breaths. Take breaks as you need. Wherever you are, lower everything to the mat. Turn your head to one side and let your arms come up like swallow cactus arms around your head. And then lift your head and turn it to the other side. So this twisting and heart opening may be bringing the energy up quite a bit. Let's come back to child's pose to just calm the energy a little bit. Knees can be separated or together. Stretch back. And there's a big change from that heart opener to this big flexion. So take your time as you make that transition. And give child's pose about 6 breaths here. Good. From your child's pose, you'll come onto your back. I'm going to turn in a way so that you can see what we're doing, but you can be in any direction where you can see what we're doing. So come onto your back and hug your knees in. Hug your knees in and rock side to side. Good. And then lengthen your legs to the sky. So we started like this. Actually, bend your knees. Let's do a couple of those that we did just to integrate movement. Reach the arms over your head, lengthen your legs. Lower everything down. 2 more like that. Lift up and lower down. Lift up and lower down. Good. Extend your arms out to the sides and lengthen your legs again. Separate your legs so that they're in a V shape. And if you were to draw an angle, the angle between your right and left leg would be 90 degrees. So we're going to keep that. If you can't quite get there in your straddle, then that's fine. It can be a little less. Take your right leg, lower it to the mat, and let your left leg lift up to the sky. Now you can really see that there's a right angle, right? Now take your left heel over towards your right heel. Try to lengthen the leg. And then come back to that right angle. Come on to the back. Good. Let your left leg come down. Right leg lifts up. And then take that right leg over towards the left. Good. And then lift that leg up. Come back to the center. Bring your toes together. Bring your knees together. Hug everything in. Rock a little bit side to side. I'm going to change directions. You certainly don't have to. Shoulders are melting down the mat as you hug the knees in and rock a little bit. And let's find that happy baby once more. Flexing your feet and dropping the knees in towards the armpits. Holding on to the outer edges of the feet or the inner edges of the feet with the shoulder blades melting into the mat. You can be really still and quiet as a happy baby. You can be a little bit more excited, kicking the heels up. And then bring the feet down. Find your tantrum baby. Just allow everything to go. Maybe you make sounds. Inhale. Exhale. And as you begin to find your way to a few moments of just being, can you silently or out loud say to yourself, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. And then after that, let out some sort of cleansing sigh. Any other little adjustments or movements, go ahead and make those. And then closing the eyes if that's comfortable, closing the mouth if that's comfortable. Take some time here to relax and restore and just breathe. And let your eyes stay closed for a bit longer. Deepen and lengthen your breath. Sense yourself here on your mat. Sense the space around you. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Reach the arms up and over your head. Sweep the arms around, hug your knees in, rock a little bit side to side. Roll over to one side and gently press yourself to a seated position. And your hands can be anywhere, at the heart or in your lap or anywhere at all. Let's close this practice vibrating Om, sharing a vibration together, sending each other out into the world with the support of this community. Inhale deeply. Oh. Thank you for sharing this practice. Namaste.
Thank you, Lisa.